Boom. Recording on. Let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen on YouTube, welcome. This is a quick video we are making regarding the starfighter squadron sizes and formations that have now seen their overhauls. I rarely make videos for YouTube these days. Most of the content that I make is on the stream, right? Any of the major changes, the overhauls. It's all visible on the live stream, so I'm like, why would I make a video for YouTube when it's all just right there anyway? But anyway, we used to of course make quite a few videos for the YouTube channel, and I figured why not show this one off, since this one actually took me a bit more work than you might expect. For those of you not in the know, we have doubled the sizes and costs as well, that sort of stuff, of the starfighter squadrons from 5 to 10. Of course, TIEs have 11 because they have a TIE scout in there somewhere, everyone except the TIE Phantom. Let's see, right there it is, the TIE Vanguard. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. I have redone the formations as well. You might say, what does formation actually matter when you have things like the doubling of the size? Surely that is the most significant change. As it turns out, formation actually changes quite a bit in terms of gameplay. You can get very different results out of your starfighters depending on how you set them up in formations, and I have basically customized each starfighter squadron based on their strengths, their weaknesses, and their expendability as well. Now, quick example, the simplest you can get is the TIE Interceptor versus something like the Hunter. This is the new TIE Interceptor squadron. Again, you get 10 interceptors with a TIE Scout in the middle. This formation was actually based on one scene in Return of the Jedi, where you get a bunch of interceptors swarming over a bunch of rebel units. Now, what you can see here is a very close formation type deal. We have far larger and wider formations than this, but this is basically to concentrate a lot of firepower on not a lot of targets. The Interceptor, as we all know, has dog shit for armor, and it has a lot of firepower, at least relative to its cost. And the best way you can focus that is just to stuff them all together in a small group and make sure they attack the same target, basically, which is what this formation is based on. Not a lot of HP, as I said. You get a Corvette shooting at this, it'll die relatively quickly. Or, of course, missile splash damage will greatly impact this. Now, to offset that, you have, for example, the TIE Hunter or the TIE Defender, which is a similar formation but far wider. And the reason this is wider is because the defenders actually have a lot of HP, which means that they can actually individually tank a lot more damage. So it's not as big of a problem if they are shot at individually, and they also have enough weapon systems that they don't need to be that close together to deal fatal damage to starfighters. So they're a lot more spread out to basically minimize the effectiveness of, say, corvettes and missile splash damage, and of course flak cannons to the formation, while they can still deal enough damage to deal with a fighter squadron. Let's actually have that go at a bunch of V-Wings and X-Wings. That is the TIE Hunter is pretty much the exact same. I realize I don't have my audio on. There we go. TIE Hunter formation is basically the same, since it is basically supposed to do the same thing. These are V-Wings, I think? Yeah, V-Wings. The Z95 has bitten the bullet. It was basically far too similar to the V-Wing, and I cut it. So, right now, the Republic units only have the V-Wing and the ARC 170. These guys you saw in his star formation, we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's first showcase the new bombers, since the bombers is actually quite an interesting change. I've decided to go with the double V formation. Now, what does that mean? The double V is basically you get a V of 5 on top, behind the first, and you get one in front on the bottom. Now, what's the purpose of that, you may wonder? If you played this mod, you know that hardpoint overkill is sometimes an issue. We have, of course, right, the V-Wings are the flying star. You know that hardpoint overkill is an issue in this mod, and ever since we doubled the HP of capital ships, this has been far less of an issue, but you still have it occasionally. Now, as you can see in effect here, the two flying Vs actually will be quite effective at taking out hardpoints, of course, but the real meat of the issue here is that as soon as the first V is finished with a hardpoint, the second V is coming in and they will target something else. That is advantage number one of the double V. As soon as the first one has made its pass, since you know you're not firing all the torpedoes on one target, you spread it out. So the first V deals with a single hardpoint, and then when the second one eventually comes in, it has an opportunity to fire at the second without overkilling, which is quite important. And there is the other advantage, which if there are some more, which there are right now, just build a couple more to really showcase this.
Bomber squadron.
I've also tweaked the prices and such, as you can see, accordingly.
Choose your reinforcements.
Bomber reinforcements.
Part of the good thing about this, which is good thing number 2 of the Flying V, is the fact that when you actually do your first pass, right, and the starfighters actually are finished with their first hardpoints, they will turn around and attack, obviously. But with the double Flying V, they will kind of break off into 2 groups, and they will attack different hardpoints as well. Now, that's not always a good thing if you have very, very hard to crack targets, like say Star Destroyers. That is not as good. But if you have weaker targets, such as say Mon Calamari Cruiser, where the individual hardpoints have less HP, it's a far more effective system since multiple hardpoints will be attacked by the same fighter squadron. So you won't have that hardpoint overkill. And it also looks a lot nicer. Now, this is nothing I haven't already talked about on previous live streams when we coded this in, as usual. Most of this work was done on the live stream, but I felt it. Wow, they're really fucking taking these out, aren't they?
TIE squadron standing by.
Well, TIEs are expendable after all. We may at some point double the starfighter HP, but for now I am not a big fan of these. These are not supposed to have that formation. That is interesting. Maybe I forgot to copy the squadron code to a container? Quite possibly. That looks about good for the expert stuff.
Nowhere to run.
Yeah, the double V formation, if they actually live, which against a level 3 starbase, just a couple of TIEs alone are not going to live. They're quite effective. They target different hardpoints. It looks fancy. And it is fairly effective. We'll actually showcase that using the Y-Wing for the Rebellion. This is very interesting. Why the hell do they have this formation? Interesting. The Y-Wing should also have the double Flying V.
Receiving message.
Yeah, we did those. The TIE Phantom has a specific formation as well.
Reinforcements en route.
Target locked.
TIE Phantom is supposed to be a very agile squadron. It's supposed to be fairly tightly packed together, but it's still kind of supposed to spread out the damage since they have enough firepower to engage units like the B-Wings and their double flying star. They basically come in a 3-sided spearhead, which is fairly agile. They can move fairly quickly, whereas something like the double Flying V of the TIE bombers we saw here, that's very inagile, right? It takes a while for the whole formation to turn properly, but the triple spearhead is far faster. And of course it maintains that everything can kind of focus fire on the same target, since it's all kind of heading towards the same thing, which is important for starfighters and interceptors. The TIE fighters actually have a fairly rando formation. I have set up a random-ish formation, which can basically go every which way they have to go. For unorganized squadrons, such as the Uglies, the TIE Fighters, there's a couple more, the Vulture Droids, that sort of stuff. We'll get to those in a bit.
Falling out of formation.
But anyway, that is the Empire stuff. Let's quickly head over to the Rebels. I've set up the star bases for this demonstration so that we can immediately build all of these starfighters we need to. We'll have to look into the Y-Wing though. Interesting. They should also have the double Flying V. So yeah, basically the fighter squadrons have been set up to go with their respective strengths, weaknesses, and the expendability of the starfighter squadron. Which is why you'll see the interceptors very close together, since you generally don't really care about those anyway. Those.
Vehicle in production. Reinforcement available. Reinforcements available.
Let's build 2 of each. Now, the really solid starfighter squadrons, and then we're talking about things like the X-Wing, the Arc 170, they basically come in a large line formation. It's kind of like this. Let's see if we can get that a little bit clearer. The Arc 170 has that. You should be able to see it here. We are recording at a high enough bit rate that this should be visible. It's basically a line. It's fairly simple. It's they've got enough HP to really kind of tank the upfront damage, so it's not really a problem when they are in a line. And it kind of maximizes the damage they do, since they don't have enough damage for a single target to really be destroyed in one go. The torpedoes of the Arc 170 and the X-Wing are really nothing to write home about. They only fire one. So having them in a line, focus firing, kind of the same thing, or spreading it out depending on what you're attacking, is really kind of optimal for these high health, fairly medium-ish damage starfighters like the X-Wing and the Arc 170. It's not very maneuverable, right? It takes a while for the formation to turn and get back information, but again, they have the HP. Do these not auto-fire the S-foils? And just like that, you notice the bugs coming. This is why we test, ladies and gentlemen. No, they do not in fact launch the auto-do the S-foils. Why is that?
Ready for command.
Different ability in front? That may be what it is. May have to switch the engine power with the ion shot. Strangely enough, some abilities will and will not auto-fire depending on which slot they take up in the UI. How does that work? I don't know.
Enemies incoming.
These are gonna get shredded here. Alright, V-Wing. V-Wing is fairly low HP, but it's actually a fairly decent starfighter. It's faster and it's more maneuverable than the X-Wing, but it's also got a lot less HP. Now, they do have an astromech, just like the X-Wing, so even if they take hull damage, they will be able to repair that in time. For those of you not in the know, we also added some astromechs to several starfighters. There's the X-Wing, Y-Wing, Arc 170, and I think the V-Wing are the only ones that really have it. Now, the V-Wing comes in a star-like formation, which is, again, it's fairly tightly packed together, so it's very agile, and it's good for kind of concentrating all the damage on a single target. Tri-fighters have the same formation. It's really good for interceptors, really. Though they don't really have the HP to go in the spread-out formation as the TIE Defender. Anyway, that is the V-Wing. V-Wing has the Flying Star. You will also see this on the heavy missile platform, which now also has 10 units per squadron. So be very, very afraid of those. The idea behind the Flying Star is you get them spread out in the distance, just as you would with the double flying V. So you still get that spreading of the damage on the hardpoints of the torpedoes, but this is a little bit more spread out, so it's even less vulnerable to things like splash damage, and this is really only for very high health and very high damage starfighters, such as the heavy missile platform and the B-Wing, because they of course have very, very high HP and damage. Skipray also has this. It's very effective, it's very durable. Again, splash damage is basically no effect. And yeah, they're good. It's a little bit more maneuverable than the Flying V, but really maneuverability has nothing to do with the decision on giving a starfighter the Flying Star formation. It's really only got to do with the HP and the damage. But it will be fairly effective. I'll actually build a couple more so we can attack that starbase. These will not die as quickly as the... They also don't auto-fire the S-foils. I'm gonna blame me. I was gonna blame D for the script, but this is entirely my mistake. I didn't know that the ability slot actually made it not auto-fire. You still don't want to use them in dogfights, by the way. I mean, they may have a lot of HP, but still, they're not dogfighters. Let's actually send these forward. Okay, so we'll get them there quicker. With the durability of the B-Wings, they should last a lot longer than the TIE bomber, so we can really showcase that.
Form up.
Right, I can't click the ability because it doesn't auto-fire. That's a problem. That means I can't auto-fire the ability that I most want to auto-fire, which is the number 3 slot, which obviously you can't click on the UI. That's unfortunate. Anyway, Y-Wing. It's supposed to be the double V, as you can see, but apparently they have a container issue, which I'll look into later. I know what the issue is. We'll fix it. Y-wing, same flying V as the TIE bomber. It's really excellent for bombers, as I said. You really spread out that damage, though they don't really have the upfront DPS and the... Oh, wrong one. And the HP that, say, the Flying Star requires. Let's get these out. And now, hopefully, I'll be able to showcase the use of the spread out bomber formations a little bit better, because hopefully these won't die as quickly. Let's actually target those. B-wings, of course, very high damage, very high health, so they should easily be able to do this properly. Let's actually have a quick run here. B-wings now fire 6 torpedoes, down from 8, but they have an extra ion cannon. Taking the total up to 3. As you can see, the formation really nicely spreads out the damage as soon as one hardpoint is done. It's not that everything fires everything on one target, but it's spread out over time, so the formation is free to target different things. And as you'll see, they will now start targeting different hardpoints in groups of 2, because that's what the Flying Star does. Very effective against lower HP targets. Still pretty good, as you can see, a lot of hardpoints are taking damage here. Very good against low HP targets. Still effective against others. Currently unhappy with the amount of time starfighters last against turbo laser fire. Turbo lasers used to fire fairly slowly, but they used to be fairly fast. Right now they're a little bit slower. I pulled down the speed of them a little bit, but that didn't really negate their effectiveness against starfighters enough. So I'm thinking of either applying a damage mod to turbo lasers when they hit starfighters, so that they don't like two-shot a starfighter, which I used to like quite a bit, but then again they also used to fire a lot slower. At this point they're basically used as flak, which is absolutely not how it was meant to be. Anyhow, you can see here that multiple hardpoints are taking damage. Or we'll just increase the HP of starfighters flat out, because that should have done a lot more damage than it did. Anyway, moving on to the other formations. I think A-wings have the Flying Star. Yes, it's basically the upright interceptor star. Again, very maneuverable, very effective. A-wings have enough HP and maneuverability that I didn't quite want to give them that trash tier TIE interceptor formation, which is really based on the expendability of the starfighter squadron. Like, the TIE Defenders are very effective. It's probably more effective than this formation, as I said, but it is just shredded by splash damage, which is why only the very expendable units have that. Right, Flying V of the Y-wings, we got the Star of the B-wings, we have the Flying Star of both the V-wing and the A-wing. And I think that is all the Alliance units. Oh, and of course the line of the ARC 170 and the X-wing, which is really just for the very solid and powerful, but not too high damage starfighters. Bombers won't use that. Now, the Consortium. The Criminal Underworld has a few interesting units that are particularly important, I'd say, for the formation. They have the Skipray and the Ugly Squadrons, as well as the Heavy Missile Platform.
Receiving message.
Unit in production. Consortium unit.
Copy.
Starfighter Squadron reporting.
Now, this is the heavy pirate starfighter, which is it has 4 laser cannons and a missile launcher. They do good damage, I'd say. But their main feature is their HP. They have, like, what is it, 30 shield, 30 shields and 30 HP, which is why I gave them the line formation. A little heavily armored for the line formation, but I was like, these are such... The line formation is just good for durable main line fighter, you know, starfighter to starfighter combat oriented units, which is why I gave them the line. What do we not yet have? We already have the pirate starfighter here. We have that one, the Ugly Squadron, the Heavy Missile Platform. Be very, very afraid of the Heavy Missile Platform. That's all I'm gonna say. It costs the same as the Skipray squadron. It has a lot less HP, but oh my, does it have the damage. It has damage for days.
Weapons on.
You'll see them engaging a couple of hunters. They'll still get shredded by hunters. Of course, their agility is not the best. Neither is their speed, but again, it's mainly the HP and the
Weapons ready.
weapons that they have, which is making the pirate heavy fighter a great starfighter. But against dedicated
Skipray
interceptors, it's
reporting.
really not that great. Uglies, I mean, they're
Enemy space station has been upgraded.
I wonder why these old formations are. Did I really forget that many containers? So that's the Y-wing, and that's the
Skipray
uglies that I have to look at. These are supposed to have the same rando formation as the TIE fighters.
Setting course.
I'll patch that up sometime. Don't worry about that.
Yes,
So
sir.
that aside, moving on to the
Reinforcements en route.
Star Viper. Star Viper is an excellent interceptor. This is actually the one that made me decide to go with the double vertical star formation, since they have the damage to kind of tank the upfront
They have strong resistance.
damage, but they're
Thrusters
still
are
good
maximum.
enough that you kind of want them a little bit spread out. They can still focus fire the same target, but yeah, this just minimizes splash damage.
Weapons on.
TIE interceptors, for example, don't want this formation since they are too weak individually to
Enemies
really
incoming. Enemy targets
do
sighted.
any significant amount of damage. But the Star Viper has the HP to really do it. And of course they do decent damage with their double laser cannons. Oh, by the way, a quick thing about the laser cannons. We may have changed the turbo lasers back to what they used to be, but it's a little difficult to see because they're very fast now. But the laser cannons have maintained the teardrop shape, which I think looks fairly good. Wish there was a decent fight going on though,
Yes, Commander.
so you could actually kind of see it. Hang on, you may be able to see the projectiles here. No? Let's find something to shoot at then, because this is not showcasing what I want to showcase.
Signals. Roger.
Ready. Lasers locked and ready.
We'll go, boys. Let's chase these for a second. Oh, by the way, this also means the starfighter combat lasts a bit longer. Ow. See, you can see how much HP they got. They just tanked all of those shots perfectly, no problem.
Draw their fire.
Oh, we got the uglies in there too?
Thrusters at maximum.
No, that just looks like it.
They have strong resistance.
I can't see him.
Let's see. You know, starfighter combats, it's a bit more active right now. It lasts a bit longer, of course, since there are more starfighters in it. And in general, it should look a little bit more lively. You know, it gives a little bit more life to the battlefield. That's the plan, at least. No, there is definitely an ugly squadron in there. That is a Death Raven.
Heading out.
I would recognize that anywhere. And it now with the higher amount of starfighters, it also means that the starfighter squadron that technically should be winning will win more often, since when you only have, say, 2 fighters in a starfighter squadron engaging each other, there's more chance for variation and random chance to have the inferior starfighter squadron win. But in this let's
Ready for
actually
action.
Choose your reinforcements.
add in the tri-fighters that can introduce those at the same time. Those are interceptors, though. This formation for the interceptors is really nasty. They focus all that firepower on like 2 starfighters. It's really, really fucking strong. Like, they may still be trash there, interceptors, but they're still powerful because of that fucking formation. Tri-fighters have the triple spear.
Moving in for the kill.
Basically to help with the missile target.
I'm on my approach.
I really should set up a higher FOV for the zoomed out cam.
Draw their fire.
Because for starfighter combat, you basically can't see shit of what they're firing at, which is unfortunate. Spend so much time in starfighter combat and you can't see shit of it. Anyway, yeah, with the higher formation sizes, you get the fact that you get less chance that a inferior starfighter squadron will win from a superior one, since there are, the sample size is a little bit larger now, less chance for random variation. Yeah, that is that.
Say that again, please.
Alright. Tri-fighters shredding the interceptors as they should. If they were to actually turn around and go head on, they would actually take out a decent amount of
I copy.
Tri-fighters, but you know. TIE interceptors are really very offensive. That formation I gave them is just... It's very offense based. So if they don't actually attack, that's not that great. TIE fighters are basically just still trash. They're maneuverable in a dogfight. If you actually get them in a dogfight and maybe in a head-on attack, they can be quite good. But that's about all they do. So as I already showed, the Tri-fighter has the triple spearhead. Triple spearhead. Uglies shown, that shown, Star Viper. All right, on to the heavy hitters. Skipray. Skipray has an obscene amount of hit points and an obscene amount of firepower.
Keep in formation.
It also has it is pretty much the slowest bomber there is, I think. It may actually be the slowest starfighter in general. It is the slowest, it is the least maneuverable, but it's got a tremendous amount of HP, 45 hit points, 50 shield points. It has got a miniature missile jamming device on board. It's only going to cover the one Skipray that any missile is targeting, but still. It's nice to have a bit of protection. They are very large targets, so they're very easy to hit, but they carry an obscene amount of firepower. They fire 8 torpedoes per volley. They've got the laser cannons, they've got the ion cannons. They are ideal for this star formation, since it's just going to spread out the damage very nicely. And of course, since they do have such heavy damage, it's great.
Blastboat here.
And again, they don't have the double V because of that, and they also have the HP to kind of tank the fire coming in, which again complements the or is complemented by the flying circle, the star. Take him a while to get to the target.
Active.
But that's okay. Again, they have a small missile shield on board to basically protect the Skipray against missiles, which really helps them against units, say, like the A-Wing and such. Really, it just gives them that little bit of additional survivability. Like, these are tanking turbo lasers, these are tanking laser cannons. They're just very good. Still want to buff the amount of HP starfighters have, though, because I still don't like how quickly they die to the more rapid fire turbo lasers we have right now.
Roger that.
Yeah, and you don't have to direct them towards a different target as soon as they fire the volley, because with the spread out formations, again, they will automatically start targeting something else with very little overkill. Like that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Can we get a 5? We can get a 5. And a few shots on the other. That is 8 points in like in a single pass for 2 squadrons. That's very decent. I like that a lot more than the everything fire on one target and then overkill it horribly. Then we have the even bigger baller, the heavy missile platform. Now, if you played this mod before, you know that the heavy missile platform is both excellent as a anti-starfighter unit because of that, and of course all of the laser cannons it's got, which are turreted, so they can fire every which way. But it's also excellent at actual
Enemy target sighted.
bombing larger units such as capital ships. Now, they carry a lot of missiles. They carry, I think, 6 anti-starfighter missiles, which is a lot. Like, that is a lot. For reference, an A-Wing and TIE Defender carry 2. The Pirate Heavy Starfighter carries 1. These fire 6. And not only that, they have, let's see if we can see them. They have 2 dual laser cannons, which are light. There is a single rapid-fire medium laser cannon, which is also turreted in the front. That also shreds starfighters quite well. There are 2 medium lasers on the wingtips. Those fire fairly slowly, thankfully. And I actually got rid of a lot of the fire rate on the lasers themselves a while ago. Basically to nerf them a little bit, because they just shred starfighters. They're absolutely merciless. They cost 1,500. I think, per squadron right now. Yeah, they cost 1,500, but the only reason that they are not more is that they've got very little HP. I think they have like, what, 30 shields, 30? 50? Okay, 30 shields and 50 hit points. But they're also fairly slow on their large targets, and they don't have anything fancy like the Skipray, the missile shield to really protect them. And there is the fact that they have to actually get in very close to fire their anti-capital missiles. Which again makes them complete sitting ducks when you're using them like this. Well, that one got 2 shots off. These got a few more off. again, in mass, they'll still do absolutely
Space
wonderfully
station
because the amount of
damaged.
damage output they have is just
Keep your eyes open.
absolutely obscene.
available.
It's awful. It's terrible. They're very scary units.
Blasted nerf herders.
Though it's not really on display here since I'm literally throwing them
Watch the
into
crossfire.
the meat grinder.
Reinforcement
Again, if you played this
available.
mod, let's
Your
mercilessly
reinforcements.
obliterate this
Reinforcements
gladiator,
en
shall we?
route.
It has no defense. And again, this is where the Flying V really shines. The Flying Star really shines. Because the other bombers in the squadron will target a different hard point as soon as this one is destroyed. And it's just very effective overall. Again, put a lot of thought into this. Took a while to get it wrapped up, but
Choose your reinforcements.
there it is. And I think that's actually it. Let's
Drawing their fire.
engage in a dogfight. I do like to use them in the bomber role myself, but again, heavy missile platforms are also perfect at screening starfighters because they have lots of missiles that they fire, and of course they have all those turreted weapons. Let's see if we can focus the cinematic camera on them without having to pan around a single one. No, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, so obviously
Drawing their
the
fire.
cinematic camera doesn't really know where to go. Anyway, we've already
Our
nicely
space
cleared out
station is
these. We've
under
cleared out
attack.
the Tartan.
Reporting. Fire at will.
These stand no chance.
I've got a fix. Yes, sir.
Oh, that thing's still alive.
Engage
Okay.
target.
I won't last for too much longer, I don't think.
Keep your eyes open.
Multiple hard points taking damage. They
I've got a lot.
they just work well. Gone are the days of bomber hardpoint overkill with the new formations, and the interceptors and such are also a lot more
Drawing their
useful.
fire.
Oh yeah, that is dangerous actually.
Yes, Commander.
See, the problem with the interceptors is they all focus on the same fucking target because of the goddamn
their
close
eyes open.
formation. So that's why
Drawing their
they're
fire.
like, they may be fairly bad and they may die very quickly to things like splash damage and even just a Corvette firing at them, because even if they miss one interceptor, it's easy to hit another. But the amount of damage they just do with that goddamn formation
Decoding
is
transmission.
quite good. So yeah, there you really have it.
Choose your reinforcements.
Customize the
Reinforcements
formation
en
for
route.
basically every starfighter according to the strengths, the weaknesses, the expendability, and I feel like it's gonna really make the game come alive a lot more. I think people will enjoy it. I'm very happy with how it's set up right now, except for the fact that the units still die very quickly to things like turbo laser fire. I may, in fact, very soon put a damage multiplier on the turbo lasers to do less damage against starfighters, to make them die a little bit less quickly. Thought the increased starfighter formation count may, or the amount of starfighters per formation might have fixed that, but it didn't do it adequately. As we've seen, TIE bombers, like 3 squadrons, which are 30 TIE bombers, they're still shredded by a level
Watch
2
the
starbase.
crossfire.
Don't like that as much.
They have strong resistance.
I'll tweak it,
space
and I'll
station
also
is
get on
under
the
attack.
incorrect formations. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. As usual, stuff's always happening on the live stream. A lot of these updates no longer make it to moddb and the YouTube channel because, as I said, it's mostly happening on the channel. And why would I put it on the YouTube channel when I can just, when it's already live? But anyway, wanted to make this this video to showcase it because this is a fairly major thing, and I don't want people to miss it. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.